Hi, boys and girls. Welcome back. Hope you had a wonderful weekend, and I hope we had a great Mother's Day for all those moms out there. We are getting back into our fractions unit, and we've been working on several strategies, different ways to look at our fractions. But today, we are going to use something called cross multiplying. And the name itself tells us a little bit of what we're going to be doing today. We will be using multiplication to help us compare fractions. So before we do that, actually, let's remind ourselves about the strategies that we have used to compare fractions. Okay, so first we look at two fractions. We have 2/6 and 4/6. And what I notice right away is the denominators are like. Okay, they're the same. All right. And we had learned a strategy with Mr. Popko last week and even the week prior of what we would do if we ran into fractions like this and how to compare them. Can you think how we would do that? I'll give you a second. Okay, yeah, one strategy was we could just cross off those denominators. If the denominators are the same, we don't even have to compare them because we know that our shape is going to be exactly broken up the same way. So now I could just compare the two numerators. And we know that 2 is certainly smaller or less than 4. So 2/6 would be less than 4/6. So that was a review from last week. All right. So when we have like denominators, you can just ignore or cross off that denominator and just compare them. No problem. You guys are all rock stars. All right. So what about if we had like numerators, right? That top number. What if those were the same? So let's look at this fraction now. 4/6 and 4/8. Think of the strategy that you used in this particular case. Give you a second. Okay. So when we have like numerators, we remember that the bigger the denominator, the smaller the fraction. So they're almost like opposites, right? We're thinking of opposites right there. So if I did make a model here, we knew making a model could help us solve this if we got really confused. We can see that the shapes, the entire shapes of the rectangles are the same size, but they're broken up differently. All right, we can see that 4/6 is broken into 6 parts and 4/8 is broken into 8 parts. So simply looking at the model, we can conclude that 4/6 is greater than 4/8. Remember, this is nothing new. We had a quiz on this on Friday. We've had a few lessons, just a quick review. But now, what do you think we can do if the numerator and the denominator are not alike? Uh-oh, that means those strategies that we had used before aren't really going to apply. So let's take these two fractions, 3/4 and 2/6. And we are going to do something called cross multiply. And this is our newest strategy that we're going to be using. And in order to do this, we're going to start with the denominator and multiply it by the other fraction's numerator. So you'll see with the arrow, red arrow, I'm going to take 4, which is the denominator on one of my fractions, and I'm going to go all the way across to the numerator of the other fraction to multiply it. All right, and 4 times 2, everybody is? Oh, I hope you said 8. All right, and then once we do that, we do the same exact thing with our other denominator and numerator. So I'm going to take 6 and multiply it by 3. And everybody, 6 times 3, in your brain, you should be saying it, 18. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to compare these two whole numbers that I have, the 18 and the 8. And 18 is greater than 8, which means 3/4 is greater than 2/6. Okay, we're going to try another one. I know it's a little tricky. It's a tough concept to think about. Really just takes some practice. All right, with practice, you guys will be rock stars in this, as you are in many things. All right, so here we have 2/3 and 7/8. Those are our two fractions that we're discussing. We want to try to compare which one's greater or which one's less. So first think, are the numerators the same? No, they're not. 2 and 7 are not the same. Are the denominators the same? Nope. 3 and 8 are not the same. So that means we have to use our cross multiplying to help us solve this problem of comparing these two fractions. So again, I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to take my 3, my denominator, and I'll multiply it by 7, right? The opposite fraction's numerator, and I get 21. Then I take my 8 and I multiply it by 2, and I get 16. And now I'm just going to compare 16 and 21. So is 16 greater than, less than, or equal to 21? Perfect. Okay, less than. So that means if 16 is less than 21, that means 2/3 is less than 7/8. Okay, let's do one more. All right, we have 2/4 and 4/8. And right away, I want you to think, how can you compare these fractions? What can you do? Numerators are different. The denominators are different. So let's use that strategy that we use today of cross multiplying. So 4 times 4 would give you 16. 8 times 2 will give you 16. Huh. That means that these two fractions are equal. They're equal. Okay, so boys and girls, this strategy is just one that you need to practice. All right, and we're going to have a few examples that you'll be able to work off of. Please refer back to this video when you are confused or if you become confused with how to cross multiply. All right, one of the first slides that was shown gave us a 1, 2, 3 step. All right, step number 1 was to look at the denominator and multiply it by the numerator of the other fraction. Step number 2 was to do the same exact thing with the other denominator, crossing it to the opposite numerator. And then step number 3 was to compare the two whole numbers that you come up with. All right, so we're gonna spend some time on this today. We're gonna work on it a little bit tomorrow also. I know you guys would do great. Just take your time and think a little. Don't be in such a rush. Don't become so distracted. Right? If you need a break, take a break. But this is a concept I know you guys can grasp. All right. See you guys soon. Have a good one.